I think it may be time for us to bring back Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. I don't think we would be any worse off with Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House because I don't see where there's been any improvement with Speaker McCarthy. And then, of course, he was dumped and replaced by the current Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who has supposedly been billed as this good conservative Republican from Louisiana. He is anything but. He is an absolute nightmare. He's a joke. He's a disappointment. He's a disgrace. I well remember when he assumed the speakership last year. In his introductory remarks, he could not get to Israel fast enough. And I detailed yesterday on the program how I am an American. I care about America, period. Okay. I care about the welfare of my country. And I don't think it's too much to expect from our American politicians that they serve the interest of the American people, period. I did a little looking around last night. I was doing some research, and I talked about this yesterday, folks, how so many of our politicians are absolutely owned by the Israeli lobby, AIPAC. I mean, to the tunes of millions of dollars. Some of them have received, the increments are all over the place, but some of these politicians have been given in excess of $1 million by AIPAC, like Senator Rubio of Florida. He's over $1 million. I mean, you name it. It's just endless. It's really discouraging because this should not be happening. No American politician should be getting any donation at all from Israel, from AIPAC, or from any foreign entity. I don't care who they are. They shouldn't be getting one red cent because, of course, if they do, it naturally follows that they are going to vote accordingly. If they own you, you're going to do what they say. I wouldn't take one red cent from AIPAC. I wouldn't take one red cent from any lobbyist if I were in Congress. I wouldn't even see them, because I would be singularly focused on American issues and the American people, and particularly my constituents. This is why, of course, I would never get elected. But anyway, not that I'm running. But I want to dwell on Mike Johnson for just a moment, because, as you know, Congress has been out of session, and it has been reported. I follow lots of different politicians on social media. And I've been following closely Representative Thomas Massie of Kentucky, who's actually one of the good guys. And he was posting something on Twitter yesterday. Incidentally, you can follow me on Twitter. My link is down below. That's where I do most all of my social media posting. Well, it is all of it. I don't have any use for Facebook anymore. It's just a cesspool. Twitter ain't much better, but it's better than nothing, I guess. But anyway, Thomas Massie was saying that Johnson had basically announced that when he called Congress back into session, the first order of business was going to be an aid package for Ukraine and Israel. And he ain't lying. That's what he's talking about. And Representative Massie posted a screenshot of this supplemental bill that I want to share with you. This is what is going to be placed before Congress when they come back into session. I have no doubt it'll pass, but this is an aid bill that is going to be presented to Congress to the tune of over $95 billion with a B, billion dollars, $95.34 billion. And I want to detail for you what is in this bill right now. It's broken down into 4 different categories, and this is how it goes. Number 1, Ukraine. The proposal is for Ukraine that they get $48.43 billion. It includes $19.85 billion for replenishment of stocks to the Department of Defense. You remember when Rumsfeld was Secretary of Defense, and right after 9/11, it turned out that, what do you know, several $trillion could not be accounted for in the Department of Defense. I believe that the Department of Defense, like every other arm of government, needs to be audited. How about you? But of course, that hasn't happened. It's not going to happen. And don't even get me started on the CIA. It includes $14.8 billion for Department of Defense operations in EUCOM AOR, which is an acronym for U.S. European Command. How about the just U.S. Command? I don't even know. I don't believe there should be a European command, but whatever the case, this is a World War II leftover, warmed over relic. $13.8 billion in USAI for Ukraine to purchase U.S. weapons. USAI is an acronym for Ukraine Security Assistance Initiatives. $8 million for IG. I didn't look up what IG means. $7.85 billion in direct support to the Ukrainian government. I'm going to get to Israel in just a minute, but let's stop and talk about Ukraine. This is what Ukraine is, and this is why people like Mike Johnson and the vast majority of Republicans are so disappointing, because our involvement in Ukraine, folks, is simply this. It is nothing but a money laundering operation. That is all it is. It's nothing but a place for the corrupt American politicians to make money. It is a money laundering scheme. That's all it is. Zelensky, who was put in power by Kolomoisky, all you got to do is a little lead work on this, and you'll find out Zelensky, this comedian slash actor slash puppet dictator of Ukraine, was an actor doing a reality show in Ukraine. He was bankrolled by this extremely wealthy Ukrainian, Zolomoisky. Gonzalo Lira taught us all about this, and he put ostensibly Zelensky into power. He's Zelensky's or Kolomoisky's puppet in Ukraine, in power in Ukraine. He's nothing but a Nazi. They have a Nazi regime that we are fully supporting with American tax dollars, and we want to send them even more. It can't be enough. It can't be accepted by American politicians that what Putin has been doing in Ukraine was justified and legitimate. If we're going to help anybody, it ought to be Putin, for heaven's sakes. But we can't launder money to American politicians in Moscow. No, it's got to be in Kiev. And here we go again, sending all these billions of dollars that we ain't got to Ukraine. Let's continue. $14.1 billion of this money is going to God's chosen nation and God's chosen people, Israel. Here we go. It ain't like Israel ain't got money. Like I pointed out many times, they've got money. They don't need ours, particularly when we ain't got any money ourselves, right? What are we in debt to the tune now? 33, 34, 35 trillion dollars. $4 billion for missile defense, the Iron Dome and David Sling. $1.2 billion for the Iron Beam. $4 billion for replenishment of stocks to the Department of Defense. This is all Israel, folks. $3.5 billion in FMS for Israel to purchase U.S. weapons. That is, FMS is an aerospace corporation headquartered in Tel Aviv. $800 million for ammunition plant improvements. $2.4 billion for Red Sea operations. This is used for operations, force protection, and the replacement of military expenditures in the Red Sea. $2.58 billion for Indo-PACOM, which is the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. $1.5 billion for replenishment of stocks to the DoD. $542 million to Indo-PACOM UPL, and $133 million to enhance cruise missile components. And lastly, $3.3 billion for a submarine industrial base. This is investment in dry dock construction, etc. This is all broken down from Representative Massey for a grand total of $95.34 billion. Do you know what is missing in this supplemental bill? Does it stick out like a sore thumb to anybody? Particularly if you're listening to me from America, you are an American. Is it not glaringly obvious what is missing from this supplemental bill? Can anybody tell me what's missing from this bill? Raise your hand. Let me see you out there. If you're an American in particularly, what's missing from this bill? You got it. Not one red effing cent for the American border. God, I'm so over this crap. We can send $95 billion for Ukraine/Israel, God's chosen nation, but we can't send one red cotton-picking cent to protect the American border. Can it be any more warped and ass backwards than it already is? We can spend money that we don't have. We got to print it. We got to borrow it from China, literally, and send it all over the world, folks. We can send it to Ukraine. We can send it to Israel. We can send it to the European Command, to the Pacific Command. We can send it to the Department of Defense, where it's just going to get lost. It'll never be accounted for. There'll never be anybody who's going to oversee where these funds are going. It is so criminal what we are doing. But every Democrat in Congress is going to vote for this disaster in support of Mike Johnson. And most Republicans will probably vote for it. And the American people, once again, are going to be left standing at the altar with not one red cent spent for the defense of our nation. Is this not just common sense? If you were in America, should your priority not be for America? Should your priority not be for the American people, period? It's just a poke in the eye and a punch in the gut that we're sending all these billions of dollars to Israel, which is committing, I know I sound like a broken record, folks, but it's got to be said. They are committing every day nothing but utter genocide on the Gazan people. I have seen the photos. I have seen the videos. I have seen the innocent Gazan children who are being martyred left and right by this godless Israeli regime. And how do we respond to that? By sending even more money to Israel. I pointed out yesterday, but I didn't expand on it. I want to do this real quickly before I move on, that I believe what's going to happen is I believe that Netanyahu is going to go. I think he's ultimately going to have to leave. I think that Iran has done what they had to do. They had to respond to the Israeli attack on the Iranian consulate in Syria, where they killed at least 7 Iranians there. That had to have a response. It did have a response. I hope and pray that that's the end of the matter, but Israel forced Iran's hand in that matter. I hope that it's a tit-for-tat situation and that it's done. But I believe that enough Americans in enough American political leaders, Democrat and Republican, want Netanyahu gone. And the reason I say this, folks, is because as every day goes by, the United States continues to decline on the world stage. Our influence continues to decline on the world stage. We continue to have the American dollar as the reserve currency of the world The rug is being pulled out from under it, and it is gradually being replaced by the BRICS economic alliance. We are losing standing in the world at breakneck speed on a daily basis, and we are the only major superpower left that is supporting this godless state of Israel. And you see powers such as Russia and China and India, they're just kind of stepping back, and they're not getting involved in this thing, but they see that we have gone to bed with the wrong partner in this matter, and we are losing our standing with these other major powers every day. And some of our politicians are at least smart enough to understand that it is not to our benefit to support Netanyahu any longer, and that's why I believe he is going to go sooner or later, and he needs to go. We need to get him out of there. All right. So that's what's going on in Washington. Let me move on to, I guess, a little bit lighter note. I had to cover this. I will remember years ago listening to a song by a guy by the name of, this is way back, I think it was in the 70s. This guy's name was Johnny Cougar. And I heard Johnny Cougar on the radio singing a song called I Ain't Even Done With the Night. Well, Johnny Cougar eventually changed his name to John Cougar, and then he became John Cougar Mellencamp, and now he just goes by John Mellencamp. Well, good old John Mellencamp, he had a hit with he has a lot of hits. One of the hits, I contend, is one of the most overplayed song on the radio. We got a classic rock station here in Birmingham, and they play about 4 songs over and over and over again. And one of those songs is Jack and Diane, which was a nice little song the first 10 or 20 times you heard it, but it's played every single day. It's like they play the thing every hour. It's one of those songs I just get sick of hearing. It's kind of like maybe the greatest rock anthem ever was Stairway to Heaven, but it's like I don't really want to hear it for a while because I've heard it so much, Some songs are just like that. My all-time favorite pop song was from 1972, a song called Brandy by the Looking Glass. My favorite pop song ever. But, I don't want to hear it every cotton-picking day, for heaven's sakes. But anyway, let me get to what I'm talking about. John Mellencamp was on stage somewhere in the last couple of days. Now, if you don't know it, John Mellencamp is a left-wing, like so many people in the entertainment business. He is a left-wing lunatic, woke Democrat, and he was on stage lending his support to good old sleepy Joe Biden, the current occupant of the White House. Well, it just so happens that the crowd that old Johnny Boy was playing to weren't Biden supporters by and large. And when he voiced his support for Biden because, orange man bad and all that rot, he started getting some boos from the fans. They weren't too crazy about Mr. Mellencamp's political persuasions, and they let him know it. So John Mellencamp pitched a little fit on stage, and he starts cussing out the fans in the audience and getting his hackles up. He's all mad now because they didn't agree with him for supporting Joe Biden. So initially he said, I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm just going to cut this thing short, and I'm going to cut 10 more songs out of my set list. And they start booing. And so he said, all right, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to play this song and we'll see what happens. And he takes his guitar solo, acoustic, and starts playing a little ditty called Jack and Diane. And all of a sudden he gets about 2 bars out of that song, and he just stops and he just says, he F-bombs them, and he says, you know what? Forget it. The show's over. I'm out of here. And he turns and walks away, depriving the people of hearing Jack and Diane. So he pitched a little hissy fit like the typical childish Democrat will do. John, buddy, all I got to say to you is simply this. Go suck on a chili dog, loser. Before I get out of here, let me just say I appreciate all of you who have written me, sent me emails. A lot of you have done that, and thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. So many of you have bought me a coffee. The link is down below if you're interested in that. Buy me a coffee. If I love coffee, if you want to buy me a cup of coffee, you can do that. Thank you so much for that. All of you who have reached out to me, I love hearing from you. You can email me. The address is down below. Hey, give me a thumbs up on the video if you would, and like this video down below. I would appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe to the old Triple T channel. Some of you are asking me about my separate channel that I just started. It's not related to this whatsoever. That channel is called Carnivore Camper, and some of you said, let us know when you get it up. Well, it's up. It's a channel that's just devoted to the carnivore diet, which I'm on, and it's also devoted to the RV lifestyle, camping, and that sort of thing. If that interests you, it's nothing like this, but you can go watch that if you want. I'll leave the link down below for the Carnivore Camper YouTube channel. You go check it out if you want to. Hey, thanks so much for joining me today. This is Trailer Trash Tim, and I will see you soon.